What's up, Havenites? Hope everybody's doing good this evening. We do have a show for y'all. I know you're not used to me starting out the show. Josh is having some technical difficulties. So we are kind of just doing things on the fly for a couple more minutes. Where's my video at? I'm looking for my video. I can't find the video that I'm supposed to play. Good Lord Almighty, notifications keep going off. You'd think I was online or something. And I still can't find the video. Close notifications, close. This is so unprofessional and I love it. It's always great when it's unprofessional. So, without further delay, and as always, thanks to one Mr. Nick Ellis for Two Brothers Comics for that intro. That's an awesome intro. Still hoping he does me one for the pull list one day. Like I said, Josh is having some issues technically, and he had to reboot his computer. And what I'm going to do is we're just going to go ahead and jump in with tonight's guest, one Mr. Mark Spears. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Alan. How you doing?
Well, I'm kind of struggling since Josh isn't here, and I don't have all my stuff pulled up. So now you get the official.
Oh man, that might be the first applause I've ever gotten on
Well,
streaming.
normally Josh brings the guests on, and I get all the sound effects queued up over here and ready to go. So,
Okay.
um, so how you doing this week?
I'm hot. It's very hot here in Alabama, which you know. Uh,
Unfortunately, yes, I do.
I'm in the over here, the New Hope, Orange Crossroads area, Hampton Cove area in Alabama. So
Yeah,
it's
see, I'm over in the Tony Harvest area.
okay. So
Yep.
it's hot both places right now.
It hits you first and then it comes my way.
Yeah, there you go. But
So,
it's
one thing that we do like to do on the show, and I do have another quick little video to play, is we always like to get our guests.
origin story.
We have not played that video in a while. I kind of missed that video.
That's a good video. I like
Yeah,
that.
I like that one. So, I know about you roughly, same area, you
Yep.
know, you know, City Boy grew up made good, in the industry that we love. So for our audience, why don't you tell us about how you got started and what where you got started, what got you in the industry, and where you are now?
So I always knew, I wanted to be a comic book artist. When I was, before I got to be a teenager, when I was a teenager in high school, that was my goal. So just studied a lot. The greats at that time back in the '90s. All the Image guys, McFarlane, Lee, Liefeld, and then I tried right after high school. I started sending off samples. Sent a bunch of samples to Marvel, DC, Image, and looking back now, of course, my stuff was horrible, but and some of them actually, I would get replies back saying, hey, none of them actually said my stuff was good, but at least I would get replies back, like actual personal replies. And some of them, like a lot of constructive criticism, like, hey, work on this, check these books out about anatomy, stuff like that. So then, let's see, I just kept doing that for a couple of years. I got up to where I guess I was around 19 when, and I would send samples off like every other month. That's what I had read that Todd McFarlane did that stuff. So I said, that's what I'm going to do. And I remember I come home from working at Service Merchandise. I was working there part time, and I come
Wait,
home.
wait a minute,
And my
wait a
dad,
minute.
yeah,
Time out, time out.
go ahead, go ahead.
So now I don't know how, I think service merchandise mainly was a Southern thing. I'm not for sure.
Yeah,
Which one was you at? Parkway or Old Monrovia?
I worked at both of them at one time. Well, not the
Nice.
same time. I worked my first one. It was working out at the Old Monrovia store near the Super Mall, and
Yep.
then that was my first job ever. and I did that for about maybe 2 years. And then I had left because I wanted to draw some more. And then the other store, I knew some of those people there, and they reached out because I worked in the electronics department. And they reached out and said, Mark, we'd love to have you over here. We need to hire somebody, and you already know how to do it. And I was like, okay. So I went there for a couple of years. So I had the joy of working both service merchandises in Huntsville, Alabama.
So
But
the way that I
I
can
remember,
tell that you definitely grew up here is you referred to it as the super mall.
yes, that was what exactly. When I grew up, that was what it's called. That was what Madison Square Mall. But
Yep.
man, that was something when it first happened, when it first opened up. I remember, was it Vanessa Williams was going to be there cutting the ribbon, and I didn't get to go to that because I was, my parents would take me. But it was like that was a huge event here in Huntsville. Was having a super mall like that.
Yeah, I think I was probably 12 or 13 when it opened up, and we went that opening weekend,
Oh wow!
and it was insane. I mean, just
Mhm.
the amount of people. I mean, that was like a destination
Oh
there
yeah,
for a few
I mean
years.
it was huge in Huntsville, but even in northern Alabama, I think people would drive up or drive down from Tennessee to go to it. So it was a big thing at that time. I remember my sister who graduated in let's see, '89. She got her like senior pictures where they were most likely to succeed and all that kind of stuff. They took
Yep.
them out at the super mall in that Parisians.
Oh wow.
That's how fancy the super mall was. I mean, so they're in a yearbook somewhere of them being in Parisians. So man, but that's man, that seems like a lifetime ago, don't it? That mall, I
God,
loved that
yeah.
mall back in the day. It's so nice. But okay, but
Yeah,
I
we got
remember,
sidetracked.
yeah, I got sidetracked. Coming home from service one day, and it was like 9 o'clock, and there's my dad said there's a message on the answer machine, and it was Marvel Comics calling, and so wanted me to call them back, and it's too late at that time, but it was Bobby Chase's office, who at that time was editing the Incredible Hulk. And I can't sleep that night. I'm so excited. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're going to give me some work. I can't believe this. I stayed up all night, couldn't sleep. The next morning, around when it was around 8:30, I think, or 9 o'clock Eastern time, I thought, okay, I'm gonna call them now. So I call them up, and turns out it was just the submissions after calling from Bobby Chase's office. So it was a guy that I had dealt with already before through email. The submissions editor. I won't give his name, but he gets me on the phone, and he's just like, Mark, you keep sending me stuff month after month. I keep telling you don't send no more, and you keep sending it. And then he tells me, he goes, look, you're not that good. You're too old. He said, I have 16-year-olds that can draw rings around you right now. He said, you just need to give it up. And I'm just shocked. One, I get a call telling me how bad I am. It just, confused me. And but then at the end, he told me like, but wait like 6 months, then maybe send me something. But he kind of like scared me a little bit to where I didn't mess with him no more. I didn't send anything out to him. But I remember going into a comic book store at that time. It was I guess it was called Comic Corner, in Huntsville. And I was telling some people that story that had happened a year or two earlier, and they couldn't believe it. I thought everybody got a call from Marvel telling you how bad you are. I didn't understand that, because growing up here where I was in a small town, I thought, well, that's just what happens. So they were like, no, Mark, that's kind of uncommon that they would call you like that. And I'm like, wow, man, that's pretty interesting. But I kept sending out some submissions. I started getting gun shy a little bit to where I'm getting so many rejections and everything. And then it kind of started getting to where nothing would come back. When I would send off a submission, where I would get, maybe if I send off 50 submissions, I might get 10 letters back. I started getting zero back from submissions. And I'm like, maybe I'm on a list somewhere, avoid this guy or something. So that happened up until, let's see, around 98, 99. eBay becomes a thing, right? Where people are starting to sell comic artwork on there. And I remember I had sold a piece on eBay that I did, and the guy Gary Carlson from Image Comics, he did Big Bang at that time. He's done a lot of little independent stuff. He had wrote me and said, "Hey, Mark, I really like the way you draw. Could you draw like oh gosh, who is it? The old Superman artist. Man, I'm a block right now. You know, he's Kurt Swan, right?
Yeah.
He said, "Can you draw like Kurt Swan?" And I said, "Yeah, I could do that." And he goes, "Well, then I got a job for you in this Ultraman #1 special for Image. If you can draw like Kurt Swan." So I sent him some samples over, and I said, "Sure, I can do that." And he said, "Okay." And I did that work. It didn't come out for like a year and a half or so. Then it finally, I think it shipped out like in 2001, I think it come out. And by that time, I'm already married. I'm running, I think, the comic book store at that time. I'm like the manager of it. And it's just like, I was like, I don't know if this stuff, you know, I'm getting no offers, you know, no one's interested in my stuff. But then I needed something more stability than the comic book store was doing okay, but I wanted to leave because I was about to have a kid. Like I said, I got married in 2000. So I kind of left, and I thought, well, I'll go into do maybe some computer work or something. So I did that for a couple of years. I left the comic book store. And then that didn't kind of work out. Went back to drawing some stuff at home. And just somehow in 2006, so a couple of years later, I'm checking my spam folder for something, and I get a message from a lady who is doing statues for Marvel Comics through a license thing. It works at Corgi, but making Marvel statues, and wanted to know if I'd be interested in doing the concept art for them. And it had sit in my spam folder for like 2 weeks. So I wrote back and said, "Oh, I'm extremely interested. Have you filled this spot yet?" Blah, blah, blah. And they said, no, we'd like to talk to you about it. So that actually worked out to where they had got the license to do Marvel statues, and Marvel gave them a list of all these people, right? They said, "Here's all our in-house artists that you can use. Any of these will design the concept for you," and all that. And they didn't like any of them. And they liked my stuff that they saw on the internet from, I think it was like Comic Art Fans website, and reached out to me because of that. And so I was just overjoyed that you know, they picked me and thought I was that professional enough that I could pull this off. There's Josh. Josh, you back? Oh, he works.
I hope so.
For now, knock on wood.
Are the words that are coming out of my mouth aligned with the motions of my mouth?
Yes. Not
and we don't have the metallic sound.
There you
But you missed it. He just completely and totally spilled all the tea on Image Comics and said that he could not repeat any of it for fear that they would actually hear. So we're actually about to end the show.
Yep. Well, it was a
good
great
seeing
night.
you guys.
See you guys later.
No, but you did miss a bizarre interlude where we started talking about service merchandise on the Parkway and on Oldman Road.
At the Super Mall. We talked about
the Super Mall.
Dude, man, service merchandise was the bomb back in the day.
Yes, I worked at both stores at one time. Yep, that was what I was talking about. Man, those were good times. I miss that store.
I applied for a job there once, and I remember that being the first job application I ever filled out where they asked if I had ever had a security clearance. And I'm like, no. I'm applying to service merchandise. No.
No, man, no, that wasn't on my application. I think I had to make up. That was my first job ever. And they wanted to know where I had worked out before. So I had to make up something like worked with my dad, and I'd make up some stuff on there. And luckily, the guy, though, that gave me my interview at Service had also hired my sister a couple years earlier. She had worked at Service for a few, maybe 6 months. So he knew who I was from her. He says, "Oh, no, I remember I hired your sister." So he said, I don't care that you put this fake stuff on your application that you need to work with your dad. So he's a great guy.
That's awesome.
Now, so
Service
kind of back to what-
merchandise and Montgomery Ward. Those were the two
Oh,
that
man,
in my
that
head
story.
were always
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Missed that story too.
You were talking about doing the concept art for the statues when you first got started.
Yep.
Did the and so what did those statues come out? I mean, what was the company that did them?
So Corgi is the company that made the first like Hot Wheel, right? The metal car. And that's what made them famous. That's how they got all their money. And so they had an American place called Corgi, and then they had also over there in the UK. So Corgi, basically they had the license. When I got on board, they had already done a Spider-Man statue, a Thing statue, and that might have been it, just 2 statues. And they weren't happy with them because the artwork and all that kind of stuff. So when I started, I gave them new concepts. I did a Colossus. I did a Punisher, Elektra, Daredevil, all kinds of them. Storm. So that was my first working with like Marvel, and it was really weird because you're working it as a third party. Because like they said, hey, we want to do a Storm statue. So I said, okay, if you're going to do Storm statue, here's a pose, but you need to put her in this outfit. And I put the outfit of, the classic 80s black leather, all that, the gold Storm outfit. And at that time, though, she was in this blue outfit. If you remember, it was a blue and gold. This was probably around 2006. And Marvel fought. They said, nope, we will not approve this black outfit. You've got to put her in the blue. And I'm like, I kept telling Corgi, this won't sell as good. I said, it's just, you should tell them that, you bought the license, that you've got to do it this way. But Colossus, I was able to put him in his actual regular outfit. That came out. The Storm one came out. A Dark Phoenix came out. Ghost Rider came out. That was a neat one. So you can always search probably Mark Spears statues, and those might pop up. I still have some. I'll have to bring them by Haven one day and show them off. Kind of rare now because that was 14, 15, 16, 17 years ago.
So, okay, I actually just tried Googling it, and I ran across. Yeah. Okay. So let me share my screen so everybody kind of have an idea of what we're talking about. And I hope this is the right one.
Yep. That's the blue one. Yep.
Nice. And that statue is based off of your concept art for it?
Yeah. Yep.
That is cool. I like that.
So on that, what I did was I drew a like normal shot, kind of probably like that, where it was a 3/4 view. And if they liked it, then I draw the back, the side, and then a front. So I would do like a whole package on that one character. And then there's Colossus. So now the artwork to me, they do represent. Oh, there was also a Thor one somewhere. Yeah. See, now there's the original artwork. That's what they took to Toy Fair that year to sell it.
If you happen to have an extra Colossus statue laying around that you don't know what to do with, I think I could find a home for it.
I do have some. I don't know how many I got, but they were only 500 made of each one because they were actually, the reason these statues were different was they were actually metal. They were spun metal.
Did you hear that, Nick Ellis? These statues are made out of metal. The fingers aren't going to just break off and go flying.
Oh no! Yep, that was the good thing about it. And that fire though wasn't metal there on her. Actually, I do not even own one of her. They never sent me a Dark Phoenix one. There's you remember Toy Fair magazine? That was the article in Toy Fair.
Now, did you design a statue for Daredevil and Elektra?
Yeah, that's my art there. Long time ago art. Yep. That one never.
I need that in my life.
The one now?
I need that in my life. I need that Daredevil and Elektra in my life.
Okay, I'll have to show you. I'll have to send you some. I got them on disc somewhere. They produced that one, right? They actually had the sculptor, everything. It got ready. They were going to mass send it out, and it was going to be 2 statues. So it was going to have the Daredevil here on his like side, and then Elektra here, and you could actually combine them, right? So you could buy
I love
both.
when they do that.
Right. So because I come up with that because I had saw back then they had the Fantastic Four that could merge.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, this would be a cool concept. They did it. They already had it ready to produce, and then in 2008 the license was running out, and they actually decided they was going to renew the license because they had all this stuff. I also did a Venom, a Punisher. I got all the artwork for those. But what happened was, if you remember this company called Master Replicas, I think that was it.
Yeah.
They did lightsabers at that time.
Yes, they did.
They bought out Corgi. They merged. And they said, nope, we don't want the license now because we already have license for Lucasfilm, stuff like that. So just overnight, all the people that I had, had these relationships with at Corgi, it was just gone. They're like, hey, man, I got to clean out my office. And I'm like, whoa. Because the person I was working for had been like a real high up person at Hasbro at that time, but they had went over to Corgi and was producing these. And we was also doing, besides this Marvel stuff, Batman stuff. We were doing the Batmobiles for Corgi. I was doing the Batman figurines, all the Batman concept art and all that stuff too. So I was lucky enough at that time for those 2 years to do Batman, the Batman family concept art, and then Marvel concept art. And that, again, before that, I'm kind of nothing. The only thing I had was that one Image comic. And then to get my picture in Toy Fair magazine and all this, they were putting all this stuff everywhere. And also I made a deal with them. I said, I will take less money for the concepts if you'll put my name on the box. Because I thought at that time, that's what my dad was telling me. He goes, Mark, your name will be worth more later on than just a couple more dollars. So I did that, and they went for it. So if you get one of these statues, it says statue designed by Mark Spears on it. So
you're absolutely right. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good deal at that time. It got my fan base bigger. I wish we could have kept going on. I had a great crew there that I loved working with, but right after that, it's so right when that was going out in 2008, 2007. DC contacts me because I've done all this Batman stuff, and they said, "Hey, how would you like to do a trading card set?" And I was like, "I never did trading cards before. What are you talking about?" And they was like, "Well, these little things called sketch cards. You'll draw on them, and we'll put them in these packs and all this." I'm like, "So I got to draw a 1 of 1," and they're like, "Yeah, but it'd be great." And I was like, "Okay." So they said,
but you have to do hundreds of them.
Yeah, well, they told me, Mark, you'll do 250 cards, and we'll pay you $5 a card.
I was going to say 3. You got a better deal than some.
Yeah, I got a better deal at that time because I had a little bit of fame, I guess. And then they said, but we'll also, Mark, we like your stuff so much, we want you to draw these big cards that we're going to give you $25 a card for these big ones. They were like really oversized. So I did the math, and I'm like, man, that's pretty good. I'm only making like $3,000-$4,000. Okay, I'll do it, because the statues was drying up at that time. So I did those. DC loved them. Everyone I would send in, and then they said, "Hey, Mark, another guy didn't do what he was supposed to do. Could you take over that 250 as well?" I'm like, okay. So it ended up I did over 650 cards, regular size cards. And I did these over like 2 months, and it was just killing me.
Yeah, I remember when Andy Price was going through the exact same thing. It was murder.
I got Andy. That's how I got Andy the job there, because they were asking, "Do I know anybody else who would take these?" And I said, "Andy Price would love these, because he's a huge Batman fan.
Huge."
And Andy loved it and went on from there to do all kinds of stuff. So I got Andy on board there. We even did a card together one time. I don't know if it was for that one or another. I think it was Women of Marvel or something after that, where he drew half the card and I drew half the card, just as an inside joke, because a lot of people didn't know that we had knew each other. So
that is awesome.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And I wish I could have done more of that stuff, but who knows? He might curse me now for getting him started in that stupid sketch sketch card stuff. 'Cause,
I don't know. I think he came out of it okay.
yeah, they did. But those were tough. So I remember getting a call from Rittenhouse, who had produced the cards. He said, Mark, we just want to tell you how happy we are that you did these, blah, blah, blah. And the cards just got released yesterday. And we just saw your Joker card sell for $400 and something tonight on eBay.
And you said the one that I got $5 for?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I said. I said, wait, I got $5 for that card. And I'm starting to think, wait, am I being used a little bit here? Because, this didn't sound right. But they used all my artwork for the cards, for all the merchandising. They had it on promo cards. They had it on when you actually went and bought a box of DC Legacy, some of my sketch cards are on the actual box art. So that's how much they use my stuff. Of course, I didn't get paid any extra money. Well, I go to them and I say, look, I did all this for you. Would you send this packet of stuff over to the comics department? Since you love my Batman so much, I'd like to, talk to who's doing Batman right now. And then they go, well, Mark, that's a totally different section of DC Comics. We can't do that. That's they got their own thing going. You're on the license and concept side of it. So,
well, I just asked you to push my stuff onto the other side. It's not that hard, guys. You know each other.
But yeah, that really burst my bubble at that time, because I thought I was on an uphill climb, and I was like, okay, then they'll show my stuff over there. Then that leads to comic books, and I'll keep going up.
No, you just got to waylay Dan Didio at a convention and show him your stuff.
Yeah. Oh, so that's basically then I did a few more card series but man, the money just wasn't into it, because again, $5.
It's a lawful lot of work for $5.
Yeah, I mean, basically, and here's the thing: they started telling us you can't do side shots, right? Where you're drawing like profile.
Really?
A profile is the easiest thing for someone to draw, right? If you said, "Hey, Mark, can you draw me something for free?" I'll draw you a Spider-Man, a Spawn, or something sideways, right? Because the face, you don't have to worry about.
And it's a mask.
Yeah, exactly. And so what they got mad at doing is everybody was trying to draw people where they were in a mask and they were sideways, just to get in and out of that card quicker. And then it was you also would pick people that weren't a lot of colors, because you had to color these with your own markers. So I would pick Silver Surfer, Iceman, any characters that were like very minimum color. So it got to be where I didn't even want to do them, because it was just costing me too much. Copic markers, which that's what I used at that time, were costing me about $10 a marker. And I would
go through one in every 3 or 4 cards, 5 cards?
Exactly. And then they would ask you, Mark, we would love it if you put 3 or 4 characters on this card. And we would love for you to, And I'm sitting there going, okay, so you are wanting me basically to draw these for like an hour or two and get $5 for it. Oh, and then I got to deduct my expenses for the markers and the ink and the erasers. And I was like,
and then you called to congratulate me that somebody just paid $400 of it that I don't see a penny of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's not even the whole aspect of the business where they don't pay you right away. Right. So DC Legacy, DC Warner Brothers paid me. So I got mine pretty good. The next set, the Marvel set I worked on, after it was already released for like 2 months, then I got paid. So I'm doing the artwork 6 months ahead of time, and I don't get paid until they get money from. You see what kind of business that is? Like, I'm selling all my inventory. I get the money back. Then I'll pay the people who actually made the inventory.
That's indentured servitude is what it is.
It is. I hated it. I started getting out of it around 13. I think I told them, look, I'll do like 5 cards for you if you want me to do something, just so I could keep like an artist proof card, which I knew I could sell or something. So I got to where I did hardly nothing on those. I just didn't want to do them. But then that's when I started playing around with my style. So I'm doing pencil ink, just normal stuff. And around 13, I go, well, what can I do now? I could still try to get in comic books. And then I thought, well, what if I like horror and stuff. What if I try to do a magazine cover? right? So I thought at that time there were a couple of horror magazines,
like Fangoria, stuff like that. Rue
Fangoria,
Morgue.
Horror Hound, Rue Morgue, and all these. And actually, at that time, there was still Famous Monsters, another version of it. I don't know who owned it at that time. So I did some samples. It was kind of crude, but I was getting used to how to paint with like online digital stuff. And I sent that in, and they all Famous Monsters, whoever owned it at that time, wrote me back and said, "This is interesting. How did you? What medium is this?" And when I said it was digital, he never wrote me back. And I was like,
you were ahead of your time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so then it was one comment. I mean, one magazine wrote me back, Diabolique magazine, and they were kind of on their end run of publishing actual, physical media. They were going to move over, but I think I did. They contacted me and said, "Hey." Because I was going to do this for free, right? I was telling these companies, look, I just want a chance to do this. I will do it for free just if you'll give me a chance. But now they wrote me back and said, man, well, not only do we like it, we'll pay you. And I was like, yes, that's great. So I did about 3 covers for them. All 3 got nominated for Rondo Awards when they come out, every cover I did.
Nice.
So I got better as I went doing it. And my kid turns to my oldest son at that time, who was about 11. He goes, "Dad, why don't you do this, but with comic books, like your comic book style?" And I was like, I don't know if I could do that. I said, "But there's already like Alex Ross does stuff like that." And I said, "I don't know, but that's interesting because I'm getting more eyes on my stuff when I started doing digital painting stuff versus just regular pencil and ink stuff." So at that time, I still stuck with monster stuff though, where I made my own monsters, Dracula, Frankenstein, stuff like that. And I started selling some art prints of it. I started getting in, where we're from. I started doing sports stuff. Did some Alabama football, Auburn football, did Tennessee football, because all that dealing with painting and stuff like that. So it was just a continuation of what I was doing because I was trying to get better at it. So I did that for a while, and then I got to where in 2020, that's when I decided I was going to try to do the trading cards, because I started putting out a lot of the monster stuff, and a lot of people were like, "Man, I love these. What are you doing with them? Why are you making so many?" And I was like, "I got an idea. I could make these into trading cards."
Did any part of your soul just shrivel up when you said, "Hey, I could do trading cards"? I've gone full circle.
How ironic that is. Well, the thing is, I didn't mind trading cards if it was going to be like what they call base cards. And
Right.
At one time I was talking to Upper Deck about that. I said, "I'm not doing sketch cards, but I'll do base cards for you." And because they said base cards paid like $100 a card. And I remember for months they had me trying to do Michael Jordan test. I kept drawing Michael Jordan, and they kept looking at it, go, "No, that's not tighter." They kept using the word tighter, and I'm like, I don't understand what you're talking about. It's as tight as it can get. I don't understand tighter what you're wanting. But I did hockey and stuff like that. But all this was like not even getting paid for it. It was like they just wanted all these samples. I ended up doing some base cards for Upper Deck around 15 or so, 2015. And it was for some weird thing where it was like king, queen, ace, and all that. It was your own little trading card things. I have no idea. I still got a couple of them somewhere. But it was for an Upper Deck set, and it was for something. It was a base card. So I was so happy that I moved on from the other stuff. But yeah, when I wanted to do the trading cards, I was like, I hate doing trading cards, but I said I don't be doing sketch cards. And I didn't know what trading cards are. What I liked the trading cards was back in the 70s and 80s, those kind. When you'd get them for the Star Wars cards, or I remember 89 Batman, when that came out, I had those trading cards and stuff.
You remember that Joe Jesco set that came out in the early 90s?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
That was the best.
So I kind of based it on stuff like that, stuff that I knew that I would like. And then I put it out and it came out 21. I did a Kickstarter for it in 20. And it did great. And really, I have to, if it wasn't for those cards, I probably wouldn't be where I am today, because that gave me something, an IP that I own, something that I have, because it's really tough with comic guys, because, you know, we work on something like Batman, but then I don't own Batman after it's over with. You know, it's just like, well, what do I do now? So that gave me something that I could actually have and create with. And then, of course, in 22, I did another series of it. And then stuff started going from there. Let's say I got the Spawn stuff. And then I'm here where I'm at now with, but again, I think it was the monsters and the cards kind of led me in that direction. Plus, for years, I was kind of gun shy again from sending stuff back to Marvel, DC, or Image. And I guess I shouldn't have been, because when they see my stuff now, they go, "Oh yeah, of course, that's great." But I was afraid they'd be like, "Oh man, you're horrible."
Tighter.
Yeah, tighter. Get it tighter. So,
now, going from the card, how did you go from the cards to basically hooking up with Image and working for them?
Okay, so that when I was doing the cards, I got a lot of confidence, right? Because I have a lot of guys on Instagram who follow me that are in the movie industry, right? That have Academy Awards and stuff, and they love my monster designs. So I'm like, wow, you know, maybe I'm actually pretty decent, you know. And then
that's how I've always described you. He's pretty decent.
He's pretty decent, you know. And that led to me getting Spirit Halloween, the movie. They wanted my stuff to put in that movie. And I was like, sure, you know, you can use it all you want to. Then they did that. And then that led to me doing the poster, the movie poster for Spirit Halloween. After that, I'm sitting there. It's, I guess it's October of last year. I've already done that stuff. And my confidence is pretty high. And I'm like, maybe I should get back into this, you know, try to go comics again. You know, maybe I'm up that level there that I thought I wouldn't at. So I do some test images. I draw a Spawn with some of my monsters on it. And I put it on just to do it. And I put it on Instagram. And I say, you know, I always thought about doing a Spawn cover one day. And that would be really cool. Because back when I did that Image comic in 2001, I didn't get to do the cover. So I said, that'd be a good circle back, get to do a cover again. I'd like to work on Spawn because it's kind of a monster comic. And people started tagging Todd McFarlane in a bunch of my stuff. And then Thomas Healy, the editor of Spawn, reached out. We talked. But again, it wasn't like, it's weird. It wasn't like, oh, Mark, they love your stuff. Everything's good. At first, Thomas likes my stuff and still does, but Todd was iffy at the beginning, is what I've heard. Was like, he looked at it and was like, yeah, but will that translate, right? Will that look good on a comic cover? You know, of course, I don't know what images he was actually looking at. They don't look at when he wants you to do a Spawn cover. He doesn't look at your Spawn. He doesn't want to see what you've done in Spawn. He was looking more like at my Dracula, my Phantom of the Opera, things like that. Because he wants to see, like, what can you give that's different from the other stuff. So at first, it took a little bit convincing. We talked for a few months, and I'm like saying, please, love to do it. And then I think around October, I guess, of last year, it was finally finalized. You know, they kept saying, yeah, we're going to get you something. And then it was, hey, we've got an idea. We're going to give you 4. And then that's when they threw out the artist spotlight, right? So that was neat. I was like, 4, that's great. So, and again, I think that they didn't know what they were looking at really. When they told me, they said, look, we want them to be the bad guys. Normally they told everybody else, do what you want. But for me, which that was fine, they told me, hey, we want you to do the villains. They told me which villains. From the chest up, make them kind of like what we've seen before. They really liked my portraits of my monster stuff. So when I did them, I think I really impressed them then. They didn't know that they would look that way when I got done with them. So that worked out great. We barely had many revisions. There was the clown, because of Greg Capullo changing up the minions a little bit. We had to redo that cover in the end, which I think it worked out better. But the other ones went through pretty quick. I think on Sin, that Sin cover for Spawn 340, the only thing I had to change was the circles on his chest and stuff. I had to make them a little bit bigger. Jericho was no revisions, and the Freak, I don't think was any revisions when it finally got sent in. So that worked out good. And again, that led to my interview with Todd. I did an interview that's online, and that was really interesting talking to Todd, because with it was kind of like this. We got there. I'm talking to his assistant. Todd gets on. I'm thinking I've never talked to Todd before, only Thomas Healy. And I'm thinking Todd's going to talk to me a little bit, right? Before the cameras go on, before we start recording. Nope. Right when he gets the camera goes on, he goes, "I'm Todd McFarlane, and I'm here with Mark Spear." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so after the interview, I'm thinking he's going to say, "See you later, Mark." And no, he starts talking. We talked for an hour and 40 minutes after the interview. And that was, man, I would have done the covers for free just to get the hour and 40 minutes of time. That was amazing.
Did you say, "Bless me, Todd, Father, for I have sinned"?
Well, he's telling me all these stories of the baseballs and all these like personal stories. It's great. But then he starts we start going over my artwork. And we start pulling it up, and he starts giving me pointers, which is just amazing. For someone like me, I was like, wow, Todd McFarlane's giving me pointers of how to do this stuff. And then we start going over my comic book pages that he hadn't seen yet. And I show him those. And again, at this time, I had wrote Spawn a week earlier, maybe the editor, and said, "Hey, what's next? More covers, you got anything for me?" Because I knew the sales were pretty good on the covers and the just overall response. And I had gotten back a response like, we could likely do some more covers. And I'm like, likely, man, they just not do as well as I thought. Well, after that meeting with Todd, I get an email from the editor the next day saying, "Hey, let's talk." And it was, "Hey, you want to do covers? Let's go for it." Something had changed a little bit. I think it's because Todd saw more of my stuff. And that's when Todd was like, "Let's do that project you had talked about." Because I had mentioned something to the editor about doing a project.
Well, let's hold on that project for a second and look at one of your covers here. I appreciate you using Alan as a model.
It does. It actually, I didn't put the
told
there.
You, I have been telling Josh that I will leave my mark on the comic book community somehow, some way. And here it is.
Oh, that's good.
But this is a special cover in a lot of ways, right? This is a special cover because of who you did it for and the prominence that this got for you, because it's got a lot of eyes on you.
Yep.
But it's also special because of this.
Yep.
And for anybody who doesn't know, that's just zoomed in on the neck area here. Tell folks about that.
So when I'm doing this, I had already been thinking as I'm doing the 4 covers, I was like, I'd love to do a little bit of a wink to Alex, right? Alex Humphrey, who worked with me at the Comic Corner back for years, back in the 2000s and 2002, something like that, probably even before that, and who worked at Haven right up until his passing. Because Alex, besides loving comics, he loved to draw, and
all the time.
These monsters that I can't even fathom. People go, "Mark, you know all these monsters." Alex comes up with things that the only person I could actually wrap my head around that he was like to me was like Geiger. If you
and a little bit of Glenn Fabry thrown in.
Yeah, It was like stuff that you could not come up with. Like everything that I come up with is kind of based on something, like, a zombie or werewolf, something like that. Alex would come up with things that had no arms or legs. And
these giant eyeball tumors.
Yes. It was just,
you know what I mean? Everything looked like it was covered in tumors and stuff. It was hideous.
Yeah. And it was,
and his mom, God bless her, she's like, I don't know why he draws all this stuff, but that's what he draws. I'm like, yes. Ma'am, that's what he draws.
So I was doing these and I was like, man, it'd be great if I could have a wink to him. And I was like, but there's not really any background for me to do that with. And then when Jericho was I want to know if it might have been the very last cover. And I was like, well, this is the one that I could get away with because he has all these cracks in his skin that I could actually try to put an AH on there, maybe on his neck, and just don't say nothing to anybody. And they, if he gets pretty, it gets in there. And luckily, it went as is. They never did a revision on it or anything, and there it was. I wish I could have made it a little bit more clear, but if I did that, then it gives it away too much,
Mm-hmm.
So, but
I can't tell you how much you doing that meant to his mom.
Man,
and his family. We lost Alex way too young, decades too young.
Oh, decade, yes.
And that meant the world to his mom. That something with his, that referenced him was published and was put out there for all the world to see. But more important than that, that somebody thought enough of Alex to do that for him. So just in case I hadn't told you before, and I don't remember if I have, that meant the world to his mom.
I appreciate that. I wish I could have done more, and I really feel bad whenever I think of Alex, besides that he's not here anymore, just because in the last couple of years, I lost touch with him. Last time I think I saw him was probably when I ran into him like at Books A Million one time. And it just made me realize on that level too, that you got to put the time in when you have friends and stuff. Make that effort. Send that email. Give that person a call. Send them a text. Because, man, this life is short, and you just don't know. I mean, never would have in a million years thought Alex wouldn't be here right now. And that's just it's just a shame. I've lost a lot of guys from that. Back in the Comic Corner days, the owner at that time was Craig Hogan.
Yep.
Which y'all were in Madison. Y'all probably remember Craig a little bit.
Yep.
And he passed away in that plane crash. And that was on time. What's sad is I didn't know it. I knew that someone had passed away in that plane crash at that time. Didn't know it was him. Didn't go to the funeral or anything. No one had reached out to me and told me about it. And when I finally found out it was him, I go back and check my email. I got an email from him a week before the crash saying, I'm going down to Birmingham. Let's catch up, Mark. I got some big plans to do with you. Because he was always a great guy to me. Craig was, and at that time, I think I was like, I needed some more work and stuff, and he was going to try to help me out and give me some work. So I've lost two guys from basically the Comic Corner days like that was really close to me. It's so sad, but it does make me think, hey, you've got to live your life to the fullest now and tell everybody what they mean to you, why you got them. But I hope to do more for Alex than just that. And eventually, I know there's a lot of his artwork around there. I would love to somehow get it published somehow. Maybe if it's nothing but just a couple of pages in the back of a book if I do a self-published book, I might do that.
Yeah, his mom has got a portfolio full of his stuff. Unfortunately, Alex always had a bit of a crisis of confidence. He was never happy with anything he drew.
Exactly.
He never thought anybody would ever like it or care for it, and he would throw it away.
Yes, he would.
So anytime you got a piece of his art away from him that you got to keep was important. I do have a page, a sequential page that he did up on the wall at the shop, and it's interesting because it's clearly early in his career, but it's got a very heavy metal kind of vibe to it.
Okay, I could see that
like
with him.
like from the 70s heavy metal.
Yeah.
Um, but it's got his name and address and phone number written on the page.
Oh,
Because I think he was using it as a portfolio piece,
yeah.
right?
That's what he was doing. Yeah.
But we've also got a Howard the Duck in the back room that he did. That's just gorgeous.
He did have that problem where, which a lot of artists have, is the self confidence thing.
Yep.
I watched a documentary a couple months ago. What was the guy that did Rocketeer? Was it Dave Stevens?
Yes.
Okay, and I didn't know that about him. He had massive self conscious of issues about his artwork, right? Where he would say, "I'm going to wait like a year before I put something out because I don't like it." And I think Alex had a lot of that where you get hey, I understand it, because when you get all these rejections, man, it's tough to keep fighting because you keep hearing how you're not good enough, and it's really tough. But confidence has a lot to do with it. I wish he would have somehow got that confidence earlier in his life, like in his 20s. Man, the stuff he might have produced.
Right? Absolutely.
Like I said, his stuff was so different that I can't even put him with any contemporaries that I know, that because it was so different kind of style. Mm-hmm. That would work if you had a book, especially now with the independents, how the independent boom is happening,
and how much horror comics are just dominating the independent market.
I bet you, honestly, I could probably get more work doing that style of what he was doing than my own right now, because it's so different, so unique. When you look at it, you go, that's his, and it would fit some story perfectly, right? Because there's all these stories out there from Boom to Dark Horse and stuff. Somebody's going to have a story to fit his style. So it's sad, but hopefully, maybe we can get that you got the sequential thing. Maybe we can publish that something. I'm working on a comic book now that I'm either going to try to get talking to Massive and whatnot right now, but if I have to do it myself, then I have to worry about it. I can put whatever in the comic I want, but I might try to do that. We put that in the back of that book.
Do we need to introduce you to Mark London at Mad Cave Studios?
Maybe. I've got with my comic right now. What I've done is, it's the comic that basically Todd saw, right? Todd liked it. I talked to Eric Stevenson about it. Eric goes, this is not a good fit for me right now, which, he's over at Image. I take it to Dark Horse. Dark Horse loved it. The editor there, we write it up in the pitch, because the editors pitched to the big guys. But right when that happened, that whole thing, the Embrace Your Group thing came out where they were cutting back.
Yep.
So that meeting, they told me that not much got approved that meeting, and they didn't approve mine. So I have over 100 pages done of my comic. I've just got to get it lettered. But
we happen to know a top-notch letterer.
Oh, do you? Because I am looking for a letterer.
We're talking about an Eisner Award nominee.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well,
yes, sir. Mr. Justin Birch himself. He's got a following. We have folks at the store who will buy a book because he lettered it.
Wow. Okay, I'll have to talk to you about that, because I do need a letterer on it, and I'm talking to some people. If I don't get distribution, there's mainly because I can go on Kickstarter. I could do lots of copies there, but it's distribution, right, to comic book stores.
Yep.
That's what I'm wanting. And so I'm like I said, I'm talking to the Massive whatnot people, and then if that doesn't work out, I'll see what else. But again, I can always go Kickstarter route, but I do have a few other people who go, hey, Mark, I could put it in 20 comic book stores. And this other guy goes, I could put it in this many. So if I put all my resources together, I think I can still have a good distribution model on it.
Well, man, there's publishers right now who are doing a lot of things. Scout Comics, I think, would be a potentially good fit for you.
Okay.
A Blaze is doing some good stuff right now. Heck, for that matter, I think your stuff might be a really good fit as a new entry into the Frazetta world at Opus.
Well, yeah,
Opus is doing some great stuff right now.
Yeah, and as far as horror is concerned, do not discount AWA on any level.
Oh man, AWA is the bomb. Those guys are
check
great.
them out. AWA is
definitely talk to you guys about this, because I've just been doing it here at home, trying to figure out who I can go with. I have it in at Boom because I did the Power Rangers covers and they were interested, but it's almost like you gotta. It's almost the only way I can compare it is like selling shows, right, to Netflix or something, right?
Yep.
After this got turned down a couple of times, I'm like, do I really want to take this to Boom or say that for another idea? Because so that's why this one's already basically done. Well,
I will tell you, Boom Studios is in need of a good hit comic.
Really? Okay.
Not necessarily, they're not in bad shape or anything, but they've had books that hit real big, like Something's Killing the Children.
Right. Of course, Berserker, but that was because, Keanu.
Berserker, but that wouldn't have been anything if it didn't have Keanu Reeves attached to it, right? But the other one that they had that hit real big, how in the world did the name just run right out of my head?
I'm trying to think what else they have there. Besides
Alan, it was the King Arthur story.
Oh, okay.
Once in Future. If you haven't read Once in Future, you need to read it because you would absolutely love it, Mark.
Okay, I'll have to do that.
You would love that book. It's brilliant, and I want to see the movie so bad. And they're all kind of in that vein, right? They've got that horror element to them. All of the stuff that's been real big.
Well, I know that Ross Ritchie over Boom, he's a fan of mine because he's following me on Instagram, and he only followed at that time 60 people. So I was like, hey, he's a monster lover, because I think I saw some of his likes on some of my stuff. It was just it's the confidence thing. Like, I get turned down from Image, and then I get turned down from Dark Horse. It's like, do I keep pitching this, or do I do this in myself and then come up with another pitch, for them? So that's what it kind of was. But I might try that. The artwork's basically done. I'm adding some more story to it, some more pages, but right now it's around a 6-issue run. Or I could collect it in just one trade paperback too. But
sales have demonstrably proven that trades sell better if the book came out as floppies as comics first.
Original.
Yep, the data backs that up.
Floppies on it. But yeah,
now you might also try IDW. They've gotten into some creator-owned properties, and they like The Hunger in the Dusk, which they've been doing pretty good with.
Well, I might try them too. I need to talk to you guys more often, man. You give me some good ideas.
You should, man. We're all about this stuff. We want to see
you
succeed big time.
There's certain Marvel books that I really enjoy. There's certain DC books that I really enjoy, but I love independent books. The top two that I think that you should really, try to talk to would be Mad Cave and AWA.
Yep.
Okay. Both of them have very devout followings.
Note.
Yeah, when people get turned on to AWA, it's like they get sucked in by one book, and then before they know it, they're getting 5 or 6 books by AWA.
You have to read them all. At that point,
you do. You really have to. AWA is addictive. Now
they haven't put out a bad series yet.
Wow.
Yeah,
they put out some that are singles and some that are doubles, but a heck of a lot of them are triples and home runs.
Yep.
Well, I think, because with the following I got already from the trading card series, right? Because I'm going to bring those kind of people over to it, because it's the comic basic is about monsters, horror elements. So I have that fan base. Then I have the fan base I pull in from Spawn. I'm doing something for Dark Horse right now, the Halloween thing. So I'm pulling in lots of different fan bases. So I do think the comic will actually work out. I think it's actually pretty decent what I got right now. And again, I didn't want to waste it on a money grab on Kickstarter where, okay, I got my money, y'all got your comics, it's done. No one knows about it now because, it's not getting any word of mouth basically, because you can't buy it anywhere. So
right,
whatever
doesn't have any further distribution past the initial wave.
Exactly. So whatever I do, I want to make sure it's accessible to people either on Amazon, Walmart, online, things like that, or comic book stores, things like that. I know Whatnot, they're interested in having like exclusive covers and stuff over there for it. So I do think in some form it's going to happen. I just got to figure out, which one. But if I can find a distribution publisher basically to help with the distribution, that's basically all I need. If it's funds, to actually print the book, well, I can do a Kickstarter for that and raise that, no problem. But that's why I'm looking at, like, if the two that you mentioned, I'll look into. I still might try Boom. Right now, Massive was looking at it. Massive is doing a lot of those Whatnot books with 20 covers, but
yeah, but we can introduce you to Mark London, who's the head guy at Mad Cave.
Okay,
he's a sharp dude, good guy, loves comics, and he tells stories in limited series format. So 6 issues would be perfect.
Now, do you have plans for beyond 6 issues, or is it just the 6 issues?
Well, I had plans on it's going to be ongoing. When I pitched the Image, I was like, look, I look at this as ongoing, but I have to have time to do these other projects, right? Because I have this Todd McFarlane project that I'm going to be working on, and I don't know how long that'll take, and we got plans in the future to do more of those. So it'd be hard to put me on a monthly book, 12 issues a year, and be able to do other books, right? So that wouldn't be feasible. But then what I told Eric was, hey, we could do maybe 6 issues a year, something like that. Tell it in increments like Hellboy does, where
which is perfect.
4 to 6 issue miniseries. And then I like that a little bit better. I was talking to Thomas Healy at Spawn the other day, and I love that format because, one, it just I feel like I'm done then. I can collect this chapter, basically, these 4 issues, then I'm kind of done until the next ones come out. I don't have to keep going, okay, I got to get it every month. And I feel like you shouldn't do it unless you have a story to tell, right? Don't keep going unless there's a story there. So that was my idea. It was shocking to me the Image passed, but then I just found out that Image has got the rights to the Universal monsters through Skybound. Yep. And I thought, you know what? I bet Eric couldn't tell me that. And he was like, let's pass on this. Either that or he just didn't like the story, which, hey, sometimes it doesn't work out. Remember Walking Dead? That guy passed on it, and then he changed it up and said, okay. So
we had Jim Valentino on here several months back, and one of the things he talked about was The Walking Dead and Kirkman's original ideas for some of the things he wanted to do on Walking Dead. He said he was talking about it was aliens. It was all aliens, and they were like, no. So you can't do aliens. Don't. He said, just don't ever say where it came from. Just go acknowledge that that's part of it. And he's like, okay, I can do that. And look at how that worked out.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he had introduced aliens in that book 20 or 30, 40, 50 issues in? Everybody would have just thrown it down and walked away.
Yeah, that's not going to be a TV show then. And it's all that merchandising is gone. I think that's the thing. I remember when I first pitched to Eric probably thinks I'm crazy. I was like, hey, because they told me, the Spawn people said, hey, Eric wants you just to pitch directly to him. And I had never pitched anything at that time. Now I've pitched probably 3 or 4 things to different people. So I just wrote on there, like in 3 sentences, hey, this is the story. Here's some pages. Need anything else, let me know. He never wrote me back. And I'm like, oh, man, I guess that was a bad pitch.
The Southern boy come out in you on that one, didn't it?
Yeah, I was like, so I remember writing
Tell me
back.
if I need to bring you some sweet tea.
Yeah, here's sweet tea. I wrote him about
we'll
a month
start the
later.
grill Saturday about 3.
Yeah. Oh man,
You know what
That's
just occurred to
so
me,
big,
Alan? You know what just
What?
occurred to me when you said that? Mark needs to come to our 24 hours at a comic shop.
Oh yeah, we'd have a blast.
oh please, I'd
We're
love
doing
that.
it in early November.
Okay.
We're going to do 24 hours at the comic shop. We're all just going to like hang out at Haven for 24 straight hours, filming, putting online whatever shenanigans we want to get up to. But we're going to
That
have a
sounds a
blast.
blast. That sounds fun, man.
It's going to be the kind of
I'm there.
stupid thing that only a bunch of idiots who are into comics would do.
Yeah,
That
it'll be
sounds
us
awesome.
and the guys from Two Brothers Comics.
Okay.
And God
I-
knows we have a few else. But Alan said he was going to grill.
Yeah.
So that's the
man.
first thing I thought of was we're starting to grill up about 3.
We'll start here about 3.
Y'all come on over.
Oh my goodness.
I'll let you in anything else. That is like the type of sales meeting that I need to be in right there.
Oh man. I tell you, I was doing I was filling out my stuff for DC Comics. They want your address, all this kind of stuff. And we had already said DC was like interested in me doing some covers, and I filled all that out. And I put that I was from Alabama. At that time, this is a couple of weeks back when Alabama wasn't looking too good, in the news, right? And I told my wife, I said, man, I haven't heard nothing in like 3 days. Maybe he saw that I was from Alabama. I was like, I ain't hiring him. But luckily, I heard back a couple of days after that. But man, I was talking to David Howard Thornton, Art the Clown. Do y'all know Terrifier movie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was talking to him about that, and he goes, because we was at a con together, and he was talking about how, man, when people hear he's from Alabama, they think, oh, Alabama. He goes, but no, I'm from Huntsville, Alabama. He said Huntsville is, and of course Madison too, so different than you would think of Alabama. He said it's like this pod in the middle of the South. It's totally different. And he was saying then, he said, and the one thing, Mark, I miss about Alabama, because he comes back and forth. He said, I tell people all over the United States where the best Mexican food is. He said, it's at Rosie's in Huntsville, Alabama. And these are people in New York and Seattle. And so they're like, what? Alabama?
That can't possibly be.
Yeah, but man, and I was telling them, I said, yeah, man, that Rose is pretty good. I do like it.
But
I'm
you
going
know
to betray
what?
myself. You know what I miss? I miss El Palacio in the worst
Oh
way.
yeah.
Wow, yeah.
I
And-
loved
You know what?
El
As long
Palacio.
as all those other people have that negative image of Alabama, that's fine. That just means more Mexican food for us.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they'll stay away. We can have as much as we want.
That's fair. We will not share that. We will not divulge that to Marisol. That's correct. HR steps in. Yep. Deeply incorrect, but that's sweet.
But on the Eric Stevenson thing, so I wrote him back about a month later, and I said, hey, here's a better, more refined pitch. I said, because I looked it up online, like, what's a comic book pitch supposed to look like? Okay, the synopsis for all the issues, blah, blah, blah. So I made it nicer, and that's when he wrote back and said, I'll pass on that, Mark, but thanks. But yeah, I think I kind of hurt there, but the Dark Horse pitch was good that I sent them, but it's a learning curve. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff at the beginning. All I know is how to draw comics and make up stories and, put it forward, and hopefully somebody will pick it up. So,
Yeah, with the 4 to 6 issue format like you're talking about, Mad Cave and AWA would be because that's exactly what they do. 4 to 6 issues, then take a few months off. 4 to 6 issues, take a few months off.
yeah, that's what I'm wanting. I could see this story going for a long period of time because there's lots of stories I want to tell with it. But basically, the first 100 pages or whatever is basically like chapter 1. Sets all the pieces up, gets you interested in it. It does, I think it shows you what you kind of want to see in it. But that's kind of what I'm wanting. And then that way I can revisit it like every year when I'm not swamped with other work. I can actually go back and say, okay, I can put out another 6 issues. So that's
The
what
nice thing is if you spread it out in a 6-issue format instead of releasing it all as a book, that gives you six months of distribution
Yeah.
before. So you have some of that time. So it wouldn't be a year if somebody went without a book. It'd be 6 months
Exactly.
or less. You obviously the smaller the interval between books, the better. Series, the
Yeah.
better. Because if you're out of the public eye too long, people lose interest quickly, and it's hard to get them back.
Yeah. I'm all for it. I talked to my wife at one point. I was like, I wouldn't mind getting on a monthly book right now while I'm still able to do something like that. Because a lot of guys in the industry that do what I do want to get off a monthly book and do what I'm doing, do
Right.
just the special covers. So I kind of want to, I just want to prove I like doing stories. I want to do that. But it's the thing of, if I remember thinking like, oh, if I fight to get on a book, like if I sit there and go, please put me on this book, and they put me on it and say, hey, we want you on it for a year, then it's like, oh, but now I can't go do nothing else really, because if you're in 30 pages or 20 pages in a month, it's going to take you most of the month. So that was the only thing, and I don't want to have to turn down stuff. I've only turned down one project lately, and it was some interior pages for the Dark Horse Headless Horseman annual. I was going to do the Dave Deshmelchin story, who's what's his name, Polka Dot Man, and him. So, and he does Count Crowley. And I was going to do it, but I was worried about doing the Spawn thing at that time and my trading cards, and I was like, "There's no way I can do all this," and they needed it done in 2 weeks. So that was the only thing I actually turned down of in interior. But then I got the cover and did it anyways. So, but yeah, I got that coming out. Power Rangers just come out, but it's a exclusive online, like a Whatnot exclusive. Everybody's been asking where they can get them. I have no idea. I got my comp copies, and I asked the guy today, and he said that they're going to be exclusive to certain retailers on Whatnot. So I have no idea how many were made. Don't know anything about it. So
now, when you were talking about the Headless Horseman, just to go back for just a second, I kind of want to. Yep. I want to see is this what you were actually talking about? Is that the Headless Horseman you were talking about?
Yeah, it's the Headless Horseman is type in Dark Horse Comics Headless Horseman. And it's solicited for October. I don't know if y'all have already had your orders for that yet.
Yeah, they went in a month ago.
Okay. So that will be coming out in October. They haven't, I don't even think online you can see my cover anywhere. I don't know why. Because if you go to Dark Horse, it's just blank there. They did have it ready for San Diego Comic Con. They wanted to make sure they could show it off there. I could probably.
Well, I was actually going to look to see if it showed up on League of Comic Geeks yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's even there yet. Let me look, see if I got a picture of it, and I can send it to you, and you can show it.
Yeah, for all it says is there's the A cover, the B cover by Magnolia, and then it has cover C, FOC Spears, but it doesn't have a picture for it, and that's on League of Comic Geeks.
I'll tell you what. Let's do this. I'm going to screenshot. This don't have the dressing on it, but this is actual cover. How can if I put this in the chat, can y'all see that? If I paste it there? I don't know if y'all will be able to do that.
Yeah, you can share your screen too if you want.
Well, okay. I know what I'll do. Here, I just sent it to Haven Comics on Facebook. Can you see that, Josh?
We'll be able to in just a second. Yeah.
All right. Maybe we can do it that way. Which is just strange to me. I don't know why they didn't have the out there. I guess it was in previews, or if it wasn't, then that's a shame that they didn't show it in previews and that they just showed the name of the artist on it. I'm not sure, but it was cool.
Yeah, that happens pretty regularly, actually.
They had told me when I was going to do it, they said that it's called Headless Horseman, but he's not really in it, this character. It's an anthology of horror, right? So it's like a bunch of different stories. So they said, Mark, it doesn't even matter what you draw. We're going to tell you what we told Mike Mignola. Draw something that you would think is cool, creepy, and neat. And I was like, wow, man, I'm actually drawing a cover. And the other guy who did it was the guy who made Hellboy. I mean, I'm sitting there going, this is crazy. So I come up with that, and they loved it. I didn't have to do any revisions or anything on it. I love it when they give you freedom, when they go, hey, just here's a character, like they say, Superman, and give you like a little bit of direction, and then you go do it.
That is awesome. I love that.
The hand in the front was on a different layer. So they're actually I had seen it with Trade Dress. I don't know where it's at. The hand comes in front of the logo a little bit, right? You'll say,
nice.
So I did that. So give it a little bit of 3D depth to it. So, yeah, I thought it turned out pretty good. They liked it.
You do this kind of psychedelic thing with the colors that reminds me of Dan Brereton a little bit.
Oh, yeah, I try to. I'm known for my colors. They do get muted a little bit on the cover because it's printing, and when I draw them, it's RGB, and then they got to get to the CMYK for printing. But yeah, I try to do something next level on the colors. Which sometimes I can't, because if you're doing something like Superman or something where you can't overdo the colors a little bit too much, and
you just clearly need to do a Dazzler book.
That would be really cool with the colors I do. Yeah,
that would be insane.
I know when I did the Power Rangers, they had sent me a sample of a Bride of Frankenstein I did, and said, we want the color similar to this, because it had all kinds of pinks and oranges and stuff in it. I said, okay.
Alabama Sunset it is.
Yeah, that's number 3. And it's interesting. I like doing the colors. Now there's some Superman stuff. That's what I did to get the job on DC stuff, doing some Superman stuff. So I did those as samples to send to DC.
I'd never know that was Superman. That dude's got glasses.
See, I like the way you did the colors, with how the colors really pop on the actual suit itself.
Yeah.
And then there was another Superman one. I'm trying to jump to it. It was close.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks before that, I think. I'm not sure. I don't know. On all those, though, I didn't really like my Superman when I did it, because, again, you're doing these for, like, spec. You're doing them for just hoping someone will like it. And I was just okay with the Supermans I did. And that was the first one I had sent them to show them what I could do. But
how can you just be okay with that?
How
is just okay? Okay. No.
Yeah.
Shame on you. Smack your hand. That is flipping amazing.
When you see the first cover that I do, I think it puts those to shame. Because you do spit a little extra. You get what I'm saying? When you're doing it and you know that this is going to be seen by thousands and thousands of people. Because I knew that was a sample. But the one I did, it's pretty good. It's going to be my very first one, and I'm happy with it. But I like that one. I look at it and I go, man, I could have done better.
Yeah, that's kind of like Alex Ross and Dan Brereton had a baby.
So if anybody's wanting to check out Mark's art, here is his Instagram.
And you definitely need to do that. And if you're a big fan of art, do you do commissions?
Not normally. I'm doing I'm finishing up my CGC sketch covers and remarks and stuff I got to finish up. At cons, if I'm ever at like a signing or something, I'll do sometimes. I just don't really have the time right now to sit down and, like, if you go, oh man, I really wanted a Batman or a gunslinger or something, I just don't really have the time to sit down and do that. But maybe in the future I will. It depends, how slow work comes in. But
what if somebody wanted Wonder Woman?
Yeah, I used to draw Wonder Woman a lot back in the day.
I've been told.
So,
well, he actually did a Daredevil Elektra commission several years ago for me. He just didn't realize he was doing it for me.
He forgot to deliver it. Is that it? You need that statue pretty bad, don't you?
Oh, that statue. Oh, I was going to say, did I do it? Because I've done so many commissions in the old days. I might have that art, the original art for that somewhere.
Oh, we definitely need to talk.
You'll give me $5 for it.
Somewhere it exists, the actual statue, and it's a 1 of 1. And I would love to have that. I don't know who's got it, but someone's got it.
Well, I tell you what, I pay a little better than DC, so I'll give you $6 for that original art.
Okay, that's a deal. If I find it.
You heard it here. He's got witnesses.
It's a verbal agreement.
If you say you're going to pay better than DC, I was like, oh, man, they're going to talk some money. I forgot about that's what they're $5 cards.
Yeah.
My goodness. Oh, man.
Well, that was bigger than a card, though. You have to pay him for the big card price.
Yeah, that was probably like 9 by 12 or 11 by 17, something like that. Man, I don't know. I was talking to my wife earlier about a lot of that stuff. I'd like to try to find. I had a lot of artwork back then, and now today everything's about digital, unless I do like sketch covers and stuff like that. But I should have a lot of this artwork from years ago, and I don't know where it's at. I'm trying to find that stuff.
Alan will come over and help you look.
I think too. Well, we can even do it live next Thursday night.
Going through Mark's stuff. Let's see what we find. We'll have a live sale auction, right? We'll just pick stuff up, start auctioning it off, man. Get rid of some of this stuff.
I told it's after 8:00, so I can say this. When Nathan Zerdy was here for the Pop Culture Expo, he was up at Haven.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I'm gonna be honest with you, I really look forward to digging through your shit tomorrow.
He absolutely did say that. Yes.
Same applies to you, Mark. I look forward to digging through your shit one day.
So I see the Batman stuff in the background. What's your favorite character there, Alan? Is it Batman?
Well, actually, my favorite character is Daredevil and Nightwing, depending on how I'm feeling that week. But where I live in Tony, I do not have high-speed internet. So for me to do the show, I actually have to come down to my sister's house, and she lives literally 6 minutes from my house.
Oh, it's just a weird location kind of thing.
Yeah, well, she had the most god-awful, ugly curtains that you've ever seen in your life.
And we made fun of them all the time about those curtains.
Yeah, I mean, those curtains were so bad that when Jesus comes back, he's going to take those curtains out before he goes after the wicked people. That's how ugly they are. Well, she got tired of us making fun of them, and she just went and found some Batman curtains on Amazon and just hung them up so she would never have to listen to us again.
Oh, my goodness.
That's something.
It maybe one day I'll get to do a Daredevil. I haven't reached out to Marvel yet, about doing stuff because it's just started doing the DC stuff, and I'm still doing Spawn stuff. I got 2 more Spawn covers coming out this year, and I'm working on 4 more right now for 350 and stuff that's happening next year.
Send me a list of the ones you're doing just so I know, because when I see your name in the solicits, I order more copies.
Yeah,
but I don't always see the names in the solicits. They don't always list who did what variant cover.
I asked the other day, I said, because I turned in a Violator cover and a Cygor cover months ago, and they were all approved. And I'm like, hey, when are we using those? And he goes, oh, Mark, I got a whole stack of covers, and I'm waiting for the right issue, where Violator's going to be in the issue or something. So he said it should be this year. So I wish they would let me know ahead of time, though, so I can let people so because I'd hate – usually what they do is they'll tell me, hey, Mark, it's being solicited. So then I can go and go, oh, okay. But Dark Horse didn't even tell me about that being – I didn't even know it was already solicited. And then Power Rangers, I didn't know until I got my copies that it was going to be on 111. It's just that different companies work different ways. But on the Spawn stuff, though, I should know ahead of time because I do want to make sure all that's out there, let everybody get a chance to get it. I think it's some of the 2 of the covers that I've done, better than the other 4. And then, like I said, I'm working on that now. I would love to do some stuff with Marvel. It's just I don't know. It's tough because you still don't know a lot of people in the business, right? I know basically every company right now. If I needed to go and say, "Hey, could I do this or can I work on that?" Except Marvel, which I've done stuff with them in the past with the statues, but I have no idea anybody over there. But I wouldn't mind doing some stuff like. But again, if I'm doing DC and I'm doing Spawn, eventually our paths will cross, and I'll do something over there. But
Just start tagging Tom Brevoort in any Marvel art you do.
okay, I'll do that.
Tom Brevoort is their senior executive publisher, editor, whatever it is, senior executive editor, I think he is. And he's online a pretty good bit. We had him on here during the 2020 Expo when it got canceled or pushed back because of COVID and all that stuff. We did an online convention, and it was like a whole weekend, and I was doing panels. I must have done 7 or 8 panels over the course of 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
And we just had people on, and I had messaged Marvel just to say, hey, do you have somebody who would want to come and talk to us? And I couldn't believe that the somebody they sent me was Tom Brevoort.
That's kind of shocking. Yeah.
We talked online, on air for a little over 2 hours, and we talked for another hour after that, just the two of us.
Wow.
That's the only time I've ever talked to him. But holy smokes, it was fun talking comics with that dude.
Man, I still need to get you did I ever send y'all Todd's info? Y'all were saying y'all want to try to get Todd on here.
We would love to have Todd on here.
Now he does a lot of like podcasts and stuff like that because he, instead of having to go and being there in person. I know he's not going to do. I just saw that yesterday. He's not doing New York Comic Con this year because his son's getting married that weekend. So I'll get with y'all guys and give you that stuff. I might know a few other people that you might want to get on.
Anytime. We love bringing on comics folks.
Yeah. So we'll get together off camera and talk about that. But yeah, on the Marvel stuff, I would like to do that. Again, I'm pretty fast with the DC stuff. He'll give me a cover. I'm done by like a day or two. And
that's pretty fast.
Yeah, and I think I'm impressing them, and that's good. I always want to do that. So
I would love to see you do some moody Batman stuff, like get some good Scarecrow and some of his freakier villains. I would love to see you do those.
I was kind of shocked when they were saying, "Hey, you're going to," that DC was going to get me to do covers. Honestly, the first thing that goes to my head is one of two things. Either I'm going to get the covers like, "Hey, Mark, will you draw a Booster Gold?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Some a more obscure character," or they were going to get me for bad guys, right? Because I'm known for monster stuff. First cover out of the gate, Superman, and I'm like, "Wow!" I was impressed.
You can't beat that.
Yeah, because not only does the confidence that they had in me, because you're looking at like my samples. Alan showed you. Basically, it was I had 2 Supermans there, a Joker. It was more monsterish kind of stuff like that. And I've sent them some of my monster stuff too, and they were like, "Hey, do Superman," and I was shocked really, and I was like, "This is great. That was a dream come true." But I hate being typecast and stuff. I love monsters. I love drawing the real gritty stuff. That's actually more fun to me. If you give me a picture of a villain. Because villains usually have more lines and more, their acting's over the top, right? It's more, it's just fun to do those. But it's great when someone every now and then goes, "Hey, we draw this superhero," and I'm like, "Oh wow, yeah."
And if I were an editor, I think I would lean toward doing exactly that, just to say, what can this guy really do? Show me something else, because I see what you do and what you're comfortable with and what you enjoy, but show me something else. And I bet. That's what they did, and so here you are knocking their socks off. That's awesome.
See,
I can't tell you what
I would be the different type of editor. I would start like picking obscure characters and telling you just go do your thing and let's see what happens. I would pick like Victor Zaja or Pig, or somebody that you could really get just dark and demented with if you wanted to.
Well, I'll tell y'all when we're done what the set cover was. And it's something. It was more obscure, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe they are testing me now. Like, hey, do this, but it's with the story, which I love that. I hate it when the cover that guy doesn't appear in the story. Can't do that.
Right. When the cover is just some kind of a portrait and it has nothing to do with the
Yes.
book, that drives me nuts.
Yes, because what is this character on the cover? He's not even in it. So, but I'll tell y'all that it's a cool little story. But yeah, I'm hoping that relationship will just keep nurturing, and we'll do 20 covers over there or something, because they're all for it. And the Spawn stuff, I got great relationships over there. And the Spawn project, I still haven't actually done the interiors yet. We're working on you got to get the plot down, right? So I'm going to send in my version of the plot to try to help it go along a little bit, because they've been plotting it and it kind of got stalled with them talking about it. So I'm going to sit there and come up with my own plot for it based on what they had told me, and see if we can get pushed forward, because it's supposed to come out next year. And I got to get on that soon. So
I'm just going to throw this out there, Alan. I think you have been itching and dying to see more living mummy in this world.
He's the man to do it.
Living Mummy. Who makes that?
That was actually an old Marvel property. From what
one of their 70s horror, the 70s monsters.
Like Curse with Werewolf by Night, was it like that?
Yes.
Dracula.
Yep.
Man,
you got one handy? You got one in your store folio by any chance?
No, I don't have one in my store folio, but you know what? Google has got it.
The Living Mummy is one of his favorites, and it's one of those that whenever I find copies of that, because I kind of got a good idea of which ones he needs for his collection, I scoop them up.
I just love that 70s and early to mid 80s art style.
Oh yeah.
Especially with the horror art. Come on, give me a bigger picture than that. Especially when it comes to that type of just the horror in general. Let me see if I can find a good picture of it. One that's
like the best stuff to me back in the oh man.
Yeah.
Monsters. I'll take that.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Man, that's a good. What CGC did you get on that? What number? 5, 6.
Hang on, let me embiggen myself here.
It's not the greatest.
Oh, 5. Ooh, man, that's nice though. I'd love to have that hanging on my wall. I want to get. I like. That's what I love about CGC books. Right? They're great display.
Yep, they are indeed. But yeah, that's a great one there.
Yeah.
This is not the best picture of it, but it'll give you a really good idea. I just love that.
Okay.
Yeah, that 70s horror style.
Well, any of those books in the 70s, early 80s were good. Even Marvel and DC. I loved all that stuff. I think that was the pinnacle. Right before the late 80s style was kind of like messy, and then it went the 90s style, which was the Image stuff. But I love that stuff back then. Werewolf by Night, A Tomb of Dracula. I don't have any of those. I'll have to get some Living Mummy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Living Mummy. Some of the covers. I mean, just they even went to the level of detail on them where you can actually. I mean, you kind of hold it up and see all the individual wrappings on it. You know, I mean, wow. They spent a lot of time on some of those covers, and they're just absolutely beautiful. I mean, I just love them for some reason.
Well, and Marvel is bringing back, like every year or two these days, they're bringing back Crypt of Shadows, which was one of their horror books, and Monsters on the Prowl, stuff like that, just their old horror books from the 70s. But Crypt of Shadows comes back every year or two with a monster lineup.
Man, yeah, see, I would love to get on something like that if they actually, even if they reprint some of that stuff but want new covers for it, right? I would love any of my monster stuff, but yeah, that would be cool. But now I'm gonna have to track down some living mummy stuff, man. That actually, I didn't even know that existed.
Oh, it's
Um,
fantastic.
do you make it up to Haven much?
Man, the last time I was in Madison was probably when I went to Haven, which was man, I don't know who was there. I went one night. It was late at night. It wasn't you. Yeah, Josh wasn't there. It was some other
No,
guy. And I just walked in. I was showing my kids around, like some stuff. We were over there, and it was dark. I remember. But dude, that might not even been this year. Let's see. It's maybe earlier this year.
I think it was earlier this year.
It was probably earlier this year because might have been around when Spawn came out, and I was looking around to see if he had any or something. I don't remember, but it was.
Well,
It was
the reason
probably
why I
around
ask is
March.
in my
April.
living mummies that I have at home, I've got a couple of duplicates, and I think I can hook you up and get you started on the living mummy.
No, yeah, I could trade. I got some. I might got some stuff I could trade you. I got a couple of covers of Mark Spears stuff that you might. That I might trade
Hey, I'm fine with that. I'm good with it.
All right. I'll sketch you something for it. How about
All
that?
right, I'm good with it. All
Oh,
joking aside, though, you do have, and it's on your Instagram, very possibly the best gunslinger spawn I have ever seen, and it's the one where he's kind of tipping his hat and he's got his 6-shooter by his side.
Is
Do
he
you know what I'm
leaning?
talking about?
Is he leaning against something like, or is he just standing straight up?
Well, this will be easier. That one right there.
Okay, yeah, I got that
That
one done. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
I did another gunslinger maybe a month ago when I was doing those DC samples. Because I told them, I said, man, y'all coming up with a new gunslinger comic and y'all haven't reached out to tell me I could do a gunslinger cover. So they said, yeah, they're going to give me a gunslinger cover. So, because I hadn't drawn gunslinger on any cover yet. All right. So it's going to be like an event when it happens. But when that new comic comes out, I think it's next year now, 24 for the new gunslinger book. I should have a cover on that. So, I can't wait.
Nice.
Gunslinger is one of my favorites, and I was telling them that I tried to get on the book, like a fill-in issue. I told them, I said, "Man, I'll do a fill-in issue if you need it," but they didn't need it. But I love Gunslinger.
Yeah, that has been a great
I
run.
love westerns in general, and the hat and the coat. I love it. So. Yeah, that's coming out. The image is Todd's doing a lot of other stuff next year. You know, he's doing Knights versus Samurai from Dave Dismelchin. So I'm hoping to do a cover for that. There's then he's got a couple of some Seven Twitch stuff and some more stuff coming out. So man, they're really expanding over there. Went from one book to 4 books, and then next year, like in 1 month, 10 books will come out because and that's not even counting like when I do my project with them, I might get up to 11 books in 1 month that'll actually have released. So
that's
who
crazy.
knows? Yeah, they're really expanding over there, and I'm happy that he's doing that. Hopefully, the market will take it. And Gunslinger, though, I was telling them this could be a huge book, the number 1, because if King Spawn did 500,000 copies. Now that's been a couple of years now, and Gunslinger number 1, and people who didn't get the first one or did, and they're like, man, it's another Gunslinger number 1 comic. I think it'll do 200,000 to 500,000. You never know, but yeah, that's definitely what as an artist, you want to be associated with one of those books that is very sought after, like a number 1, right?
Yep.
So that's
or just with a popular book. In this case, you've got both. It's a double whammy.
Exactly, it's a double.
Like Greg Capullo, he made his bones picking up the reins and doing Spawn after McFarlane, and he's as well known for Spawn as McFarlane is, really. Although he's gone on to do other things, but you think Greg Capullo, first thing you think is Spawn.
Well, you got that G.I. Joe back there behind you, and I'm thinking I wrote the guy who's going to be doing there he goes. Cobra Commander and Duke.
Yes.
Williamson. And I wrote him and I said, man, I would love to get on one of these GI Joe issues, right? Cobra Commander, whatever, to do a cover. And he was like, "Well, I'll let the Skybound guys know." But see, other than that, I don't really know anybody at Skybound. But man, I would do it for free to do a GI Joe cover. And then the guys at Whatnot was trying to get me to do a Dracula Skybound incentive cover. Skybound only allows their Skybound artists to do covers, right? So he fought with them, say, but Mark Spears needs to do this cover. And then he gave them my information and said, look, we don't want it then if you can't, if Mark can't do it. So he said, maybe they'll contact you. I haven't got anything, but I got to get a hold of Skybound and tell them, man, G.I. Joe. See, that's another thing. If I get a number one of G.I. Joe somewhere, Cobra Commander, Duke, G.I. Joe, any of them, that would be huge.
Brother, also, I can picture you doing a Cobra Commander cover, like him leaning forward with the hood, because the hood is way better than the mask, infinitely better. And then like some snakes in the background, kind of like, man, I'm digging that hard.
I tried. Like I said, Joshua follows me. He's a big writer over there at DC, and he was following me. That's what got me at one time thinking, hey, I could actually maybe I should send some stuff to DC. And when I saw that Josh was following me, I wrote him and said, hey, I hear you're doing Cobra Commander #1. Man, I'd love to do a cover to that. So maybe I think I'm going to have to reach out to someone else, and I got a good resume and I got a good, they can look at the work I've done and see it. But dude, I really think I could knock it out of the park. Give me a Cobra Commander. Give me Cobra, right? A whole like Cobra Commander, Storm Shadow, Destro. Man.
Hang on. Something kind of like this.
Yes. Oh, Serpentor, the twins, Crocmaster. Man, you got them all. Oh, love it.
Zartan in the Swamp. That's the cover you need. Zartan in the Swamp.
Is all those all 6-inch?
Yeah, they're all the classified figures.
Oh, the classified. Yeah, I got a couple of the classified. I just saw Rock and Roll the other day. I was like, man, I might have to get Rock and Roll. He looked cool. Love that Serpentor. I'm thinking what I might have
Copperhead is one of the better figures. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, I had, of course, the original Copperhead. He just looks so good.
And this is ridiculous. It's a stupid figure. It's a dumb figure, but it's a good looking one.
Oh, it is. Dude, I remember that one too back in the day. I might have to just sit down and do what I did with the DC stuff and just do it on spec and actually do like 2 or 3 Cobra kind of covers, right? And just
if you do, I know a guy who has a comic book store who's a big G.I. Joe nut, and he might be real interested in hanging something up at the shop. I'm just saying.
I might do that.
I hear he does that kind of stuff all the time.
Okay, I might do that. Well, that's the thing. With the DC stuff, I probably wouldn't have got it if I hadn't sent in my stuff and said, look, this is what I want to do. So I might have to do that with Skybound. And if it makes nothing, if it gets me no job, so be it. But it could.
I'll have a really cool cover on the wall.
Exactly.
Well, one thing that you could do, like if you want to do nothing but a Cobra cover, do 3 and do them connecting with Cobra Commander and Serpentor in the center.
Yeah.
And then everybody else fanned out across the, in the background of the center and then fanned out across the other 2. That would be cool.
I might do that. I did y'all probably seen years ago, the only time I drew Cobra Commander, that was the last time. It was probably 6 years ago. I had Cobra Commander, Avenger, Megatron, all the cartoon guys. And that was the Cobra Commander in the helmet. But I really would like to. I think Cobra Commander comes out in January.
Yeah, so somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah, so this is my time to try to, I got only a couple of weeks grace period to get them to, approve it. Okay, we'll get Mark to do a cover, something like that.
So quick question for you.
Yep.
Who honestly in your heart do you think is a better leader for Cobra Commander or Serpentor?
Okay, so if I was a member of Cobra, right, and I wanted to follow somebody, I guess it would be Serpentor. But watching it, I want Cobra Commanders leading because it's so much more fun. And that's, and I love how they brought Serpentor in there. That was, huge as a kid, right? It was huge.
Oh yeah, it was, and he was terrifying.
Yes, dude. The story is amazing. I've watched it maybe a month ago. I watched it again. Clone DNA from these dead icons of history. I mean, this
Genghis
is
Khan,
amazing.
Alexander the Great, Napoleon. Yeah.
I think they put blood in there, and it was.
When we were kids watching that, and you're sitting there after school, and you're like, "Oh, I don't know if this is going to work out for Joe this time." The Joe may be in trouble for real now. Dude, that was serious back then.
Dude, the Battle Android Troopers, that took G.I. Joe, which was already 10 out of 10. It took it next level, right? It took it better. But when they did the movie, that's when it went down some. It just, the Cobra Commander in the movie I didn't like that.
I could not agree more, sadly.
Yeah, I thought, at that time, it's Transformers and G.I. Joe. That's what you're watching. And Transformers was doing good. G.I. Joe was doing better because of what they did with the Serpentor storyline and stuff. But I think they just messed up when they made that movie. That was crap. But, dude, the Dreadnoks, G.I. Joe is just a great franchise.
The mythology is so good, and it's so rich. You got ninjas, you got a biker gang who likes grape soda and chocolate-covered donuts.
Yeah.
You got Zartan, who is somehow connected to the ninjas and the biker gang and Cobra. You've got this Scottish businessman who sells weapons and all this stuff, but the used car salesman who runs the whole deal. And you're like, how in the world? I don't know if you ever read it, but Paul Jenkins did a one-shot, and it was back when Image had G.I. Joe before. It might have still been Devil's Due, but I think it was Image had it at that point. And it was called Cobra Commander Reloaded, or Cobra Reloaded. It was a one-shot that Paul Jenkins wrote, and holy smokes, it was absolutely terrifying because you believed Cobra Commander.
Oh, wow.
He made him so charismatic, and he painted him in his mind. Cobra Commander is an American patriot.
Really? Okay.
It was amazing.
Wow.
Paul Jenkins is a stud, and he can write some incredible stuff. But yeah, if you've never read that, I'm sure it's available somewhere, somehow. But that was in the 2005, 2006, 7, somewhere in that ballpark era. Holy smokes, it was good. It was so good.
Man.
And I wanted it to be an ongoing series. I really did, because I wanted to read more of that, but it was just a one shot.
So it's just a one shot. Man, I definitely will look into that and see, because I love good Cobra Commander stories. To me, he's the linchpin. If you got G.I. Joe and Cobra without Cobra Commander, it misses something. You got to have him in it. Though I love, like we just mentioned, I love all the supporting cast: Storm Shadow, Destro, the twins, everybody else, and the Dreadnoughts, Zartan, all this stuff. But man, Cobra Commander, that voice, I just hear it in my head, right? Oh, that was one of my favorite Transformer episodes, is where Cobra Commander stars in it.
Yeah.
You remember that one at the very end?
Yeah.
And he's like, he's what's his name in it? Snake or Viper or something like that.
Yeah.
He's at the end. He's like, Cobra. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they crossed over. But
do you remember, you talk about pivotal moments and things that happened. Do you remember G.I. Joe 109, I believe, was the issue number, where the Saw Viper, they had all the G.I. Joe prisoners.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all in the pit that they had dug, and they threw them in the pit, and that Saw Viper just stepped up to the edge of the pit and blew them all away.
I think, okay. Yeah.
Quick Kick, Doc were both in there. I forget who all else, but that was a moment you're like,
that is a shocking moment. Yeah.
You can't kill them.
No,
You can't do that.
That's like Transformers the movie, right? When they went in there and started killing all the Autobots.
Speaking of which, I have been able to read a retailer preview copy of Transformers #1 coming out from Skybound.
Good.
I haven't cared about a Transformers comic since I can tell you. I have not given a rip about a Transformers comic.
Same
Holy
here.
smokes, this was good.
Oh man, that's great news.
The very first thing that happens once you see the Transformers, like the very first thing that happens, you go,
wow.
You can't do that. You can't do that. It's like when you're watching the Firefly movie and you go, wait, you can't kill Wash. You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. That breaks all the rules.
What continuity are they going with? Or is this brand new continuity? Or is this based on like the cartoon or what?
This is very much Generation 1.
Oh, great. That's perfect.
Very much Generation 1.
Man, that's what comic needs right now. The industry is something like, a book like Transformers, and hopefully G.I. Joe will be good when it comes out. Because that really helps that shore up things because G.I. Joe wasn't that good like when IDW had it a couple years ago.
Oh no, I loved it. It was still being written by Larry Hama. Larry Hama picked it up and he was writing it. He wrote because the original series from Marvel ended at 155.
Right.
And then Devil's Due got it and they were publishing through Image, went on their own, came back to all this stuff. IDW got the license, and IDW's idea was, hey, let's just pick up where the Marvel run ended with Larry Hama and have him write it. So he started with issue 155 and a half, and then they started with issue 156.
What
he went through 300.
Okay. So
and now at Skybound at Image, they're picking up and going with 301. And Larry Hama's writing it. He's continuing the same thing.
Okay, so it's the same. They're just continuing it. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. And it's fantastic. It's so good. I tell you, you read the ending, issue 300, you're like, there is no way. And then because you're expecting, you knew it was the end of the IDW run, and you figure he has to wrap everything up here. Well, not only did he not wrap it up, he ended with the end ?
Oh.
And yeah,
so he's picking up the same story with issue 301. So the same dude will have written 300 plus issues of a comic at 3 different companies, and they've kept the numbering going.
Yeah, I knew that he was writing the G.I. Joe over at Skybound. I was like, wow, that's a big get to get him over there. So wow, he's continuing the same
story.
That's amazing.
He picked up 155 just like he had, or 156 just like he had left off 155 the month before, and not 15 years before.
Wow,
20 years before.
Man, now you got me excited about both of those franchises now.
I got to tell you, it's so freaking good, and they are going to be reprinting the collections of the material that was published at Skybound or at IDW.
Okay.
So you'll be able to get those trades.
Are they going to be? Is that by IDW or is that Skybound reprinting those?
Skybound is reprinting the IDW material.
Okay, so because I guess they own the material now,
right? Yeah, they own the license. They've worked out a deal with IDW to reprint it. But it's all the same story. Larry Hama's written it the whole way. And if you had told me that at any point that Larry Hama could kill off Snake Eyes, and I would not only be okay with it, but think that it worked out as well as it possibly could, I would have laughed in your face.
Man.
And then I would have had to eat my words and my laughter because I would have been wrong. Holy smokes, the story he told was so good, and it had no right to be because he's doing the unthinkable, and it's so good.
Oh.
And then turns around and the guy that he replaces Snake Eyes with is just as friggin' awesome as Snake Eyes.
Well, that's part of the thing. Cobra didn't know Snake Eyes was dead. Right?
Okay.
So they had to. So they didn't want Cobra to know Snake Eyes was dead. So they got somebody else to literally replace Snake Eyes to like pretend to be Snake Eyes.
Right. So they wouldn't know. Okay.
Right. And he was that for what, 70 issues?
Easily.
Man.
Yeah, because I think it was about 70 issues because
Thereabouts.
they kept training with him in the pit, and even the other Joes are like, he's too good. You know, he's getting better and he's already too good. You know, nobody. And then they went into the big snake hunt storyline, which is really good.
Actually, if you're a fan of the old G.I. Joe comic, the
Yeah.
Snake Hunt story, one of the things that Larry Hama did was he said he wanted to show on the page every single character, every single vehicle that had ever been in a G.I. Joe comic.
No way.
And he pulled it off seamlessly. I mean, like at one point, they're down in the pit and you see a van that's like got a tarp half over it, and it's the van with the balloons in it from issue 37 when you first meet Tomax and Zaymot. You know the cover where Flint is on top of the roller coaster?
Yeah.
That cover. And it's the van that had the balloons and stuff. That freaking van shows up. And you hadn't thought about that van since that issue, but the minute you see it, you have a flashback. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to have to pick those up, man. I'm a huge Joe fan. I'm excited, man, that we're going to have good Transformers. G.I. Joe's continuing. Man, that's great. I'm excited with Skybound. And then the Universal Monsters. Have you read any of that? I know that we talked about them doing that.
They just sent a retailer preview out today that I have not been able to read yet.
I know this one's Dracula, but their plans were that I read was to do them all, right?
Yep, they are. They're doing them all.
So that's really interesting to me that they're going to go through all that with the licensing, everything to get that. So,
yep.
Really interested when Image does licensing work. It's just odd.
Yep, that's out of their wheelhouse.
Yeah. Really? I mean, you would think that would be against what Image
everything
is, right?
that they ever stood for.
Exactly. I mean, it's. I wonder how Todd feels about it because really, that's odd. You're not doing a creator-owned thing. You're doing a creator-owned of that licensed property, but it's still a licensed property. But Kirkman can do no wrong, really. So I'm sure it's
that is a true statement.
Yeah. Look at Invincible. Oh, I loved Invincible. But I don't know. I can't wait for that stuff to see what else they got coming out too. But
let me ask you a question, Mark, as we go to wrap up here tonight. What are you doing next weekend? Labor Day weekend. What do you do?
Is that the second? I'm in Illinois next Saturday, doing it's a Comic Con up there, and I'm a guest at it. It's Bird.
Well, that is unfortunate. You know why?
Why?
Because you're going to miss this.
Dragon Constellation?
Yes. Labor Day weekend is Dragon Con weekend. And we hold a sale every year during that because half of Huntsville picks up and goes to Atlanta for Dragon Con. So we coordinate with other geek-themed stores in the area. We each have different ones every year, and we do a cross-promotional event, which we call Dragon Constellation. And this was our sad dragon that I drew in MS Paint.
That's not bad.
And I've been using that for years. I mean, it's not bad considering I have no real artistic skill. Like, where's his other wing? I don't know.
It's hidden behind the head it's just hidden perfectly.
That must be what it is. But last week we were on the show and I flashed up my sad dragon and we were talking about Bianca had popped into the chat, which she does every now and again. I don't know if you met her at the expo this past year, but she does this incredible whimsical art, usually with a tinge of like something funny or something melancholy or something, just this thing that she does. And I said it'd be nice if we had a dragon that wasn't, a pitiful MS Paint dragon like that, and was a good sad dragon. And so 15 minutes later, she sent me this.
In 15 minutes, man,
This adorable little dragon.
I love it.
Who's so sad because he can't go to Dragon Con.
Oh, it's perfect.
So next weekend, the weekend of September 2nd, we are hosting our Dragon Constellation 2023, and looking forward to doing that. We will be announcing
next year when if y'all do it again next year. I guess you're doing it yearly.
We do.
Maybe I can come and help out, sign something, or give away some stuff or something.
Yeah, we'd love to have you out. I was just going to say, if you wanted to come out and pick up something, we'll have some sales going on, and you can get you some G.I. Joe stuff, for example.
Well, I might have to come do that. Maybe I can do that while I'm traveling and read them. I might do that this weekend or something, and that way I can be reading on some G.I. Joe and some Mummy or something before.
Yeah, got to get you some Living Mummy for sure.
If you head up to the shop this weekend, let Josh know before you go, and I'll meet you over there, and I'll bring you a couple of those living mummies that I have extras of.
Okay. Yeah, I'll let you know.
And I was sitting here thinking, and I know we're kind of running long, the way that you do colors in your art, I really need you to hook up with Kyle Higgins and crank me out some Radiant Black goodness.
Oh, man, yeah.
Just the way that you do colors, I think that you could just freaking knock Radiant Black out of the park.
Well, we had Kyle Higgins on the show, and he was talking about this, some of the stuff that he does. He's very intentional with what he does. And one of the things they were doing was the blacklight reactive one or something. They did an issue that was blacklight reactive or something. But they had chosen different colors to have different meanings in the comic. So it was part of the story. It wasn't just a gimmick. Right. So when you read it and if you would pick up on this is what this means and this is how that translates through the book. And I think something like that with the kind of color bombs that you put out, I think he would dig the heck out of that.
Yep.
I might reach out to him and see. That would be cool to do. That's a huge book, so I'd always be down for something like that.
I was picturing him doing a No One cover too, really, but No One is a phenomenal book. If you're not reading that,
I haven't read that. Man, Image's got a lot of books. Again, we talked about that earlier. How independence. There's so many good independence books. I'll probably read more independent stuff now than if you add up all my Marvel and DC that I might read. But just because there's so many, I don't know what the word would be, different stories. I mean, because you got your superheroes with Marvel and DC, but you got so many even superheroes, but beyond with horror and all that stuff over there with the independents. So but basically I watch a lot of YouTube to see like what people are liking. And then say, hey, man, this is a good book. So I usually go check that out. And that's how I navigate because there's so much stuff out there. But,
Alan puts out the pull list every week on our YouTube channel here, pushes every Friday morning at about 11:15. And he just kind of goes through what he's reading, what he's loving. We normally talk about it on the show Thursday nights, unless we have, if we don't have somebody like you on where we want to talk to you instead. But he'll talk about what he's reading, why he likes it, what's awesome about it.
And believe it or not, tomorrow is my 17th episode, and I will actually be trashing my first book tomorrow.
Really?
What?
I found one that you got to tune in tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to that because we don't normally trash a book. It's pretty egregiously bad for you to feel that way.
Yeah, I kind of trashed the book, then went after the company that puts the book out. So,
now I'm really wanting to know, man.
Tune in tomorrow, 11:15. That'll pop up on our video feed.
Yeah.
If you're not a subscriber, you should subscribe to the channel.
I will do that.
Speaking of tomorrow, and I got one last piece of business to handle. This is the only show where you get the answer before you get the question.
Yep.
So the answer for tomorrow's question is Tales of the Ninja Turtles, issue 1. Now tomorrow you'll get the question and you'll know what to do.
That's right. Well,
This
as
is
we're
my
signing
own
off
stupid
here,
little game I play, Mark.
I love it.
As we're signing off, any last things you want to say to folks, Mark?
No, if you can reach me on Instagram, Facebook, Mark Spears Art on all those, Twitter, and just keep an eye out for some comics. And I'll make sure Haven knows when things come out because they're the place to get them. And the next thing that I know for sure will be in October. We'll have Headless Horseman. So
FOC hasn't happened on that yet, so I can increase my orders.
okay. And then, we'll do something. Maybe I can come by there, sign some. We never hooked up with the Spawn stuff.
Right.
So if somebody has something they wanted me to sign there, I can come in there and sign anything they want. So we'll pick a date and do that in October.
Perfect. That's awesome.
Right,
we appreciate it. Thank you for coming on, man.
It,
We'd love to have you back on sometime.
Anytime, man. I just like hanging out talking comics. Anytime y'all need an extra guest, just look me up, man. I'm here.
Easy enough. We love talking comics too.
This reminds me of the old comic shop days, man. I miss this. So
it's like a Wednesday at the comic shop. That's exactly what we're going for. Exactly what we're going for.
Anytime you need another voice to run something by, man, just reach out to me. I'm here. That'll be fun.
Be careful. We'll take advantage of that. And you're going to like our little sign out video. When we used to do we were a quiz show, so we had trivia questions and stuff.
Okay.
But we still like this video, and so we play this when we're signing off sometimes. And I think you're going to like it. It's going to take you right back to Spy Hunter video game days. So check this out.
I love Spy Hunter. Love Spy Hunter.
We all did because it was awesome. Check this out.